The first game up on Saturday of this year's state championship weekend in Laramie at War Memorial Stadium is the Class 2A championship game, and the defending champs are back. That's the Lyman Eagles, and I welcome in head coach Dale Anderson with me. And, Coach, first of all, congratulations getting back to the title game. What does that mean to you in the program?
Well, I appreciate it. It means a lot. You know, you always kind of work towards that goal in mind, and, you know, it takes a little luck along the way, and, you know, some things have to kind of fall into place, but, you know, we're excited to be in this position.
I talked to you back in August when I was kind of on my football tour out in the southwest western part of the state, and you felt like you had some good players, but you knew you lost a good class from last year's state championship that went across the state to Torrington and won. How did you get back to the title game, do you feel, this year?
Well, you know, we had some kids that really just had to, you know, improve each week. You know, we had a lot of unknown factors coming in. You know, we had some kids that we kind of knew what we were going to get out of, but a lot of young, untested kids that have been JV kids here before, you know, so they really come a long ways. It's been fun to watch them progress, and it's been exciting to watch their improvement, you know, so, you know, we've had some kids really kind of step up, and that's what it takes.
Ro Meekum seems to be, I don't know if he's a quiet leader, but he's like a one-man wrecking crew, and maybe he's not quiet around the team, but talk about the development and what you've seen from him, you know, kind of blossoming these last couple of seasons.
You know, he's really come a long ways. There's a kid that didn't play as a freshman. You know, we didn't get him out as a freshman, so, you know, but he's been a 3-year starter for us, and he's just progressively gotten better. You know, it helped to have a good group of kids around him last year on that defensive line, you know, but we kind of challenged him to be kind of our lead guy. He's the one that we, you know, base our offense and defense a lot around, and, you know, he needs to be a central point of that, and he's embraced that challenge, and it's, you know, he does a great job of being a leader for us that way.
How difficult is that when you know opponents know that you're going to try and run behind him? You know, he's going to try and get in their backfield. How difficult is that when some of the game plans kind of focused on him from the opponent's perspective?
Well, it is hard. You know, we have to create opportunities for other kids. You know, we have some other, you know, linemen that block pretty well. So we've, you know, it's pretty obvious where we're going to try to go, but, you know, we try to do enough different stuff to keep people off balance. But, you know, it is fun to have a kid that you feel comfortable, like, you know, he'll rise to that challenge. And, you know, we expect that, you know, every week. And, you know, for him, especially on the defensive side of the ball, he had to get used to being double teamed. And sometimes, you know, we've had a couple of teams that triple teamed him a little bit. So that's been a process for him to have to get used to that. You know, he doesn't have, you know, Hanson, Bradshaw, and Joe Turner like he had last year taking all that on, and he just go one-on-one. He's had to learn to adapt to that himself.
Speaking of developing, I've been very impressed with Ashton Housekeeper. That was a young man who wasn't your quarterback to probably begin the season. I think you still list him as a wide receiver technically on the roster, but what have you seen in Ashton's development that's allowed him to be so successful, Dale?
Well, I think the biggest thing initially is he wanted that position. You know, he came to me, you know, in the offseason and said, hey, who you plan on being quarterback? And I said, well, we don't really have one. You know, in mind right now, we got a couple of younger kids that, you know, we might, you know, can work in there. He says, well, I want to try it. And so, you know, to his credit, he's embraced that role, and he's done a great job at working at it. He spends a little extra time on it, and, you know, and so, and he kind of fits what we're looking for, a kid that can run and a kid that can throw. That kind of fits what we're trying to do offensively. So he's really embraced that, and it's been fun to watch him progress as the season's gone on.
Lastly, McCoy Smith. Gosh, I think the best term I've tried to come up with is I think he's just slippery. The guy just seems to avoid tackles and slip out of tackles and doesn't get hit, you know, face on with a big hit. I don't know what it is about that young man, but I'm so impressed with him. As a young kid who's still learning and growing the game, how good can this young man be, Dale?
Well, you know, he's got a lot of skill set. You know, he is kind of quick. Like, you know, slippery's probably good. I had a kid I coached once that said, you know, he's like a bar of soap. You know, it's just kind of hard to hold on to. But, you know, one of the biggest things I've been proud of with him is his, you know, we moved him into a fullback position, which really doesn't fit, you know, exactly didn't fit his style from last year. But, he has done a great job for us blocking, and that allows us to use him in 2 or 3 different ways, multi-purpose use versus just having him like last year out at wide receiver. So it's been nice to be able to see him embrace that role, kind of change from a finesse guy to a little more of a physical presence, with his blocking and stuff. So that's been, and he does a little bit of everything for us, and that's very helpful for us.
Well, and I'm not trying to overshadow anybody else on the team. Those 3 guys kind of stand out for you, and I know there's several other key guys, but you guys really have done this as a team this year. I've been impressed with that facet.
Well, we're not the biggest and we're not the fastest, but I really do think that the kids have bought into that concept that we have to play as a team to be successful, and and that's what makes it very satisfying as a coach to see kids that, hey, well, I want to do this. Well, it's all about what do you got to do for the team to help us be successful. And it is satisfying as a coach to see them buy into that kind of idea.
It's been a little bit since Lyman's made a trip to Laramie. You made the trek to Torrington last year due to COVID reasons. You went back to the host schools, but now we're coming back to Laramie. You'll play Saturday morning. What does it mean to these kids to get to play on the big stage, I guess, in Wyoming at War Memorial Stadium?
Well, I think it's always fun, when they get to be in that environment, the bigger locker rooms, the big stadium, but you hope that once the ball's kicked off, they realize, we're still playing on a regular field and kind of focus on what has to happen there. It's easy to you don't want to get too caught up in the big setting and focus more on just, what we got to do to play well on Saturday.
Speaking of that, how do you get your guys to settle in quickly? What's got to happen to get them to realize, hey, this is just another football game?
Yeah, there's going to be some nerves. There always is. But, we try to make some play calls that the kids know and trust, early on, just so they get, whether they work or not, it kind of gets us a little more comfortable with what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I think once you get going, I think that, most kids usually do kind of settle into the game and kind of forget about everything around it other than, just being on the field and playing ball.
All right, let's talk about Lovell and Coach Crosby's squad. They seem to be turning it on kind of at the right time with going out to Torrington and shutting them down. What do you see when you see the Bulldogs, and what'd you take away from that first matchup earlier this year?
Well, right now they're probably playing as well as anyone in the state. I really believe that. Coach Crosby's done a phenomenal job with their kids up there. But they're playing to their strengths. They're big, they're physical, and they're fast. And those are the things that are hard to match up with, or for anybody, especially this level. But the first matchup, I think both teams have evolved and changed quite a bit since then. I think both teams have gotten better since then. But they rely heavily on the run game, just like we try to. But yeah, it's going to be a huge challenge for. I think their run defense is probably as good as I've seen, this year. Anybody, they have big physical kids, and their linebackers are very active, and their defensive backs they've gotten a lot better as the season's gone on too. So it'll be a huge challenge for us. And then offensively, they rely on those big bodies up front, and they got good running backs behind them, and so it's a huge challenge to play them.
So what's got to happen for you guys, Dale, to be successful Saturday morning?
Always it comes down for us is the trench war. Being able to, that line of scrimmage is going to be huge, and once again, that's a challenge for us because they're bigger than us, and their kids play hard. And so it's really, though, it comes down to what can we do up front, offensive line, defensive line. That, to me, that's our philosophy and our approach. That's always got to be what it takes. Is you got to be able to control that line of scrimmage.
Is there anything that you take away from that first meeting that you are maybe showing your kids on film, like, hey, look at what we did? Because I know that was a tough ball game up there.
Yeah.
You had to travel north, but you were able to get out of there with a win. Are there certain things that you point out to your kids? Hey, look at what we did here. They're probably going to adjust, but so you've got to make some adjustments.
Well, yeah, you look and how teams are how lined up against you the first time and say, well, they may make this change, they may make this change. It's always that chess match when you get to this point where you've got 9 films on them and they got 9 on us. There's not many secrets right now. you know, you try to have a little wrinkle or two in your back pocket hidden if you need it. But really, when it comes down to it, they're going to execute what they do best. We're going to try to execute what we do best, and that'll be the battle.
Dale, thank you so much. Best of luck, and we'll see you on Saturday morning.
Okay, hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.